Hey there, how you doing? It's Chris, your friendly neighborhood internet Sherpa, back again with another one of those tips on how to bring bodies to the door, put cheeks in the seats, and of course, build your list. One of the things that I have said as one of my goals, one of my purposes for doing this podcast is to kind of cut through a little bit of the, hey, this is what they said, this is what they meant kind of thing. And if you looked at the title of this particular episode, it was basically, if the internet can't see you, you don't exist. And I know you've heard that a bunch of different times, and there's a bunch of, well, what does that mean? What am I supposed to do? And a lot of times it comes down to, well, you got to put a lot of content online, or you got to post here, you got to post there. And there's a little nuance missing in there, and I wanted to make sure we touch base with it. I want to clear it up right quick, because just because you're doing something doesn't mean you're doing something, or just because you're doing something doesn't mean you're accomplishing anything. And it's very easy to get wrapped up into all the different words that you see online and with the different things that you're being told, and not understand the forest for the trees kind of thing. So we're going to chop down some trees today. Now, the thing that I like to say is that you can't make people look at you online, but you can stand when they're looking. And that's kind of a flippant way of saying, be where your people are going to be looking. And if you're an independent, chances are there's only a handful of places that exist. So you're talking Google, we're talking YouTube, Facebook, Yelp, Instagram, maybe LinkedIn, depending on what you got going on, TikTok, depending on how young you folks are. You get the idea. There's only a handful of places. But here's the thing. If you don't understand what those platforms are looking for, you could be wasting a whole bunch of effort doing a whole bunch of stuff, getting a whole bunch of no results from it. Because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is get in front of people that don't know you, people that want a thing, but they don't know that you're out there. Meaning, if they don't know you, if they can't see you, you don't exist. So what is it you're supposed to do? Well, I'm not going to tell you what you're supposed to do in this episode. What I am going to tell you is to give you here's the part that they're not saying. So the internet is just a bunch of computer programs. That's all it is. And they're all run by algorithms. And all these companies, they are in it for money. Don't forget that that's the case. You get some benefit out of what they do, but at the end of the day, to them, you're product. So always remember that. And the question is, and this is a weird way of saying it, how quality of a product are you? So let's talk in terms of Google, but this still applies to Instagram. It still applies to Facebook. It all applies to the same, but just Google's the most egregious one with these. Ooh, egregious, big word Thursday. So Google makes trillions of dollars playing on attention. The bottom line is they sell ads, they do all kinds of stuff because a lot of people go to Google to get information. Well, in order for Google to capitalize on that, they have to make sure that they stick the right stuff in front of people when they type whatever they type into the search engine. Well, the question is, and this is the part that's most important, how do they figure that out? That's the part that you have to pay attention to. So you have to give these platforms what they need to understand you as a quality person, as a quality business, as someone that's worthy of sticking in front of the people who are searching for you online. And that's not the hardest thing in the world to do. You just need to understand that what they're looking for is not that hard. They just need to understand your business. Take a look at your Google business profile. I'm assuming that you have a Google business profile. What does it say? Does it list everything that you do? Have you filled everything out to the part where the questions it's asking, and Google business profile is the most obvious. I want to know this about you so I can stick it in front of other people. Have you filled that out? Are you constantly updating it? Because that's the second part of the equation. I like to use the example of somebody who has a floor station in the back of a mega salon, and they show up, they're there, the station is ready, they get there at 8 o'clock in the morning and they don't do anything. They just stand there and wait, and nobody shows up because nobody knows they're there because they didn't do anything to get the word out. Well, that's the same thing as, say, having a website and not adding any content to it, having a Google business profile and not updating it. You're just assuming that just because I'm here, that's enough. And it's not. You're competing against the people to your left and right as far as getting the different algorithms, because The way this works is all these different programs or platforms send bots out all over the internet to pull in the information they can find about you and your competitors. And it takes a look at things like, what information do you have out there? Where are you located? What do you do? What information do they get, or what kind of feedback can they see that people interacting with you are throwing out there? Do you have reviews? Are your reviews current, or you just have old reviews? Understand that algorithms are not the brightest things in the world, and they have a recency bias, meaning that you really got to keep it happening on a regular basis. So that's why constantly asking for reviews is kind of important, because if you have a whole bunch of 5-star reviews from 5 years ago, that's not nearly as impressive as someone who's got who's at a 4.7 or 4.8, but they've been consistently building that review profile. Same thing with the Instagram. If you're not constantly putting new, and when I say constantly, I don't mean every single day, so don't get it twisted. If you're not routinely, that's a better word, adding more content that people can interact with, then you're not giving the algorithm on that particular platform the information it needs, which is, do people vibe with you? That's what it needs to know. So at the end of the day, the most important thing to understand about what you do online is, where you're at is important, but it's equally important to be consistent, there's that word, with what you're doing, to constantly be feeding the algorithms who you are, what you do, what people think about you. Constantly keep adding that. So if you have the desire to go ham on it, or do beast mode and throw a bunch of effort at your online profiles, and then sit back on your laurels and figure that's good enough, pretty soon it's not going to matter. You're going to be irrelevant if your competition is consistently doing what they need to do. Single, double. Home runs are nice, but you strike out a lot with home runs. Single, double. Put something on there this week, put something on there next week, or put something on there a couple days out the week. But constantly be refreshing your online footprint with the information that these platforms need to make the difference, to understand you in relation to them, meaning your competition, and the other them, meaning the people that are looking for you. I guess this is, Jerry Maguire, help me help you. Yeah, I know it's corny, but it's kind of true. Anyway, that's the biggest thing that I wanted to leave with you today. You really ought to be consistent online. You have to keep feeding the machine so the machine continues to understand you, because it's got short attention span theater. It will forget you quickly. So constantly just make a habit of seeing and throwing out there online what you got going on, and just make it a habit however you do it. Yeah, obviously I've got a little something that if you investigate it, it'll make doing that easy, but you don't need that. You just need to be consistent. So 702-582-6708, support c2local.io. You got any questions about anything I just said, reach out to me, ask the question, I'll give you some feedback. And if you want to put an eyeball, like a hairy eyeball on what you got going on online, to see if you're out of sync a little bit, if anything you need to fix, go to c2local.io/blueprint. Download the guide, take a look at what you got going on, fix what needs to get fixed, and then single, double. All right, that's going to call it for today. I'll holler at you next time, and I'll see you online.